Hello, I'm JustinSlaght. This is my review of Super Collider. It's a very sad day for me because I have to talk about the recent album in my favorite band's discography. And it's not good. And by the end of this review, I hope I talk myself into giving it a better rating than I'm about to give it, because I am not in a very good mood. I am in a very depressed mood because I thought Megadeth left the bad days behind them. I seriously did. I thought Dave Mustaine learned better from this. But let's talk about it. So, in case you're wondering, a little bit of background for me on Megadeth. They are one of my favorite bands of all time. If you follow me on Facebook or whatever, I always talk about Megadeth. I always post videos by them on my free time. And when I did a top 10 list, they ended up being number 3 on my list. So they are one of my favorite bands. And I've also proclaimed Dave Mustaine as the best guitarist out there. I'm sure you can name someone who's better. Feel free to, but that's just my personal opinion. And this is the 14th album by the band. The recent album was 13, which I'll talk about in a minute. So, you're probably wondering to yourself, well, if Megadeth's so high in your top 10 list, that must mean you like all their other albums. No, I don't. There's a lot of albums that I can't stand. The prime example is probably Risk. Risk was just... It was just completely a left turn for them. I mean, it sounded like a generic rock band that was making this album. Like, it sounded like they wanted to make a fucking party album or something. It was just completely out of left field. And I will be the first to admit to you that I am not a huge fan of United Abominations. There's a couple of good ones on there, like Sleepwalker, but it's just not my cup of tea. Now, I know that they're not going to be the old times, and I most certainly know that Mustaine is not going to capture his lyrics from the past, but I expect him to at least try. And with 13 and also with the end game, I thought he was back to fruition. I thought he was back with a vengeance. Now it seems he's gone back to his old roots, but I will say this: it is not the worst Megadeth album, and that's a positive. But anyway, let me start. Super Collider has a couple hits and a lot of bad ones. Like, probably the one that you've already heard is Kingmaker. And after we heard the self-titled track, Super Collider, and to be honest with you, I didn't really think it was that bad at first. I was like, this is okay. It's still got a nice beat. If it's one thing that Mustaine knows how to do, he knows how to write a catchy tune. And I thought that's what Super Collider had. It had a really nice, it had a nice tone. Even though Mustaine was toned down, it still had a good, tune to it. Now, a lot of people were really, really bad on that song. They proclaimed it the worst Megadeth song of all time. Have you heard their 90s songs? Have you heard them? I don't think you have, because this is way better than those. Let me tell you that. But anyway, then Kingmaker came out, and then everyone was like, okay, hold on. He might still have a trick up his sleeve. He might still have some good music in him. I mean, it was intense. The lyrics were pretty good. The solo was awesome. So like, he might have a chance. And it all goes down here, or downhill from there. Like, probably the worst song on the track is Dancing in the Rain. I thought that was just atrocious. That was the worst fucking thing I've ever heard from Megadeth. Right there. That is the worst song ever made. It just didn't feel right. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. I really don't know how to explain it. I don't know how Mustaine thinks anymore. Like some people are saying, you know, he should probably go back to drinking again. Don't do that, but at least pretend to be intimidating. Now, there is a track on here. I think it's called "Don't Hold Back" or something like that. Or like "Don't Turn Your Back" or something like that. It's probably one of the major highlights of the album. It's intense. It's got a great intro. I mean, it sounds kind of like a southern tune in the beginning. It's kind of cool. It's cool. And there's a song at the end called "Cold Sweat." That's not entirely bad. But here's my problem with Mustaine. His lyrics on this album are complete dick. And first of all, another song that's on here called "Burn." Like, how many bands in our current generation have come up with the fucking track title called "Burn"? Like, seriously, every band that was popular back in the day, that's the only name that they can think of is "Burn." Burn, burn, burn. Fucking burn this album. It's a piece of shit. I'm kind of disappointed by it. I mean, like I said, there's a couple of good hits, like Kingmaker. I think that Super Collider is fine. And Don't Turn Your Back is good. I would be fair with, I think there was a song called The Blackest Crow. I think that was what it was called. I don't have the names in front of me. But it was okay, but this is a very disappointing album. When you're comparing it to 13 anyway, this is a pretty piss poor follow-up. Because this, just like Risk, this does not sound like Megadeth. This sounds like a generic rock band. This sounds like something Stone Temple Pilots would fucking do. This is something Metallica would do. And Mustaine has spent his entire life trying to create a band better than Metallica. And now I'm pretty sure he's done that. Metallica's fallen off the map. Okay. I'm going to give my rating. As hypocritical as I am, as pissed as I am, it's not the worst album of the year. And probably by the time the 2013 is done, it won't even be on a list. So I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to give Super Collider a 5 out of 10. Because there are some songs, even though I don't really like them, as I said before, Mustaine knows how to make a good tune. The problem is his lyrics. And the problem is that he sings a little too much. Like, Mustaine is known for being like a creative vocalist. In this, he just sounds like a generic vocalist, like any other rock band. That's kind of disappointing coming from him. It really does. And I'm very disappointed. But there's my review of Super Collider. As a longtime fan of Megadeth, I will still listen to them, and I will still love them, and I will still appreciate what they do. But this is not the one. This is not the one to continue off of. Like when they made the end game, I thought that was a step in the right direction. Even when they made 13, this was a step in the right direction. It still sounded like the end game. But there you go. There's my review. Their songs are all over YouTube if you want to see it, because no one wants to buy an album anymore. But there you go. Very depressed fan. But there's still hope. Well, thank you so much for watching my review. I hope you enjoyed it. I am JustinSlaght. Take care.